Well, by the look at the after action reports that came in as I was compiling those, it looks like a lot of folks had some great experiences, learned a lot, grew a lot, and it was really great to see so many new operators participating in this year's T-REX 2025. This is part one of a multi-part after action report because there's so many aspects of this. Now it's been 1 week, and over the last week, I've been debriefing operators, or top tier operators, and having conference calls and sorting through all of the AARs or the surveys that came back. By the way, that survey closed Friday night, August 1st at midnight Pacific time. You can still add some of your experiences if you missed it in the comments section under this video here, or you can go back to AmRRON.com at the T-REX 2025 survey and add your comments there. But adding them right here is just fine. It works. So what I want to do in this one is cover an overview of T-REX 2025 this year, to just discuss how it all went down, what all was involved. And there was a lot involved, a lot of moving parts as usual. It started off with the week leading up to T-REX with news articles from WIWT Breaking News. That's our fake news deck at What If It Were True News. And these are news stories, or they simulate news stories that help enhance the scenario and build up. So when you lose the grid and we find ourselves no power, no cell phones, no internet, all you have until you can start gathering more information is what you knew leading up to it. So this gives you situational awareness in the form of news headlines. If you're paying attention, you can see what was going on, what led up to this event, and it can give you some situational awareness going into a real world grid down event. Here at AmRRON.com, you'll see that WIWT 2025 news deck, and that is a page that's set up with news articles coming out throughout the week leading up to the exercise that helps paint a picture of what this scenario is looking like, with the most recent at the top. So we can scroll down toward the bottom, and you'll start to see these news stories. CISA's warning about hacking attempts of municipal water treatment. Islamic Republic of Salami citizens arrested at the northern border. And you read these articles, it kind of gives you an idea maybe what their motives were. Equipment, intelligence, notebooks, things that were confiscated from these people that were infiltrating across our border can give you some insight as far as what they intended to target. GPS jamming exercise by the Babushka Federation and Maoistan. This got the Western states all riled up, and we've got just more of these pictures of these fictitious Islamic Republic of Salami working with the Babushka Federation and Maoistan. So these guys are all working together. And of course, here's another article. Maoistani-owned land near U.S. military bases raises questions. So keep that in the back of your mind. As when the grid goes down, you start to see areas that have been targeted, hit with a coordinated attack of some sort, right? Well, there's a correlation between land that's owned by Maoistan and our military bases that were attacked in this coordinated attack. So these are little pieces of information, little clues to kind of help you formulate a realistic theory as far as what you might be facing when you're grid down, because once you're grid down, additional intelligence begins to come in across the radio network, and you start to put pieces together, and it starts to make sense. And you don't have to be a professional military intelligence analyst or anything like that to connect dots. Of course, this would be a great exercise for folks that do have formal military intelligence or any type of intelligence backgrounds, investigative type backgrounds. This is a lot of fun, and this exercise would add some realism. But speaking of realism, it seems like every year something in our scenario that we try to come up with something it could happen, it's plausible, based on real world potential emerging threats. But it seems like in the news, just before the exercise begins, something from our exercise ends up happening real world. Now, you'll find out in the exercise that there were sabotage attacks on Starlink ground systems. Starlink, the ever faithful Starlink that is always up when everything else is down. Well, it does have some weaknesses, and in particular, a Achilles heel. We incorporated that into this year's scenario to highlight that, so you don't become overly dependent on Starlink. Even though it is very dependable, it could be targeted and taken down. And lo and behold, just before literally the day before the exercise was to begin, we began getting alerts, Starlink down around the world. This in Spain, Germany, the United States, multiple countries, Starlink began to go down. And we had AmRRON members on the AmRRON Telegram channel and on our ZNet and email and other outlets saying, hey, our Starlink is down here. And sure enough, I mean, they were able to use their data on their phone to reach, the cell phone data, say T-Mobile or Verizon, to connect to the internet and let everyone know that their Starlink was down. So when you go to like Down Detector or these other sites, sure enough, the day before T-Rex was to begin, a real-world Starlink outage worldwide was taking place for several hours. Now, once it began, and it did not all come back up at one time, but once it started to, then Michael Nichols from Starlink put out a post, and he said that it's mostly recovered. It was approximately 2.5 hours down. The folks that we talked to, it was 4 hours and more. But they said it was due to a failure of key internal software services that operate the core network. Well, it sounds pretty serious, but that's very, very vague. They didn't say specifically what, and they're not going to. I mean, they have information to protect. If this was deliberate, they are not going to. They want to minimize how effective this is to a malicious entity that's trying to gauge on, how effective it was. They're definitely going to play it down, and they're not going to be specific about what this was or how they fixed it or how they found it, so on and so forth. So that happened just before the grid went down. So Friday morning at 1600 Zulu time, immediately everybody went into grid down mode. No electricity, no cell phones, no landlines, no internet, no TV, no radio, everything, we completely grid down. So when this happens, our signal centers, the AmRRON SigSends on the East Coast and the West Coast, and SigSend National begin developing our initial event summaries. This is a way for us to put something together in the form of a report that lets everyone know what we know up to this point, because people will ask, what happened? Why was the grid down? I'm jumping on the net here to see what everyone knows. So they're looking for answers, and this is a way for us to provide what we do know up to this point, and then we add to this. And those will be fed by stat reps and situation reports and other information that's coming in from across the network. So once the exercise began, we had stations all across the country with what are called injects or preloaded traffic. These are situation reports and other traffic that is injected at a specific time with specific information to enhance the exercise simulated emergency, the scenario. So this enhances the scenario and it keeps the timeline going in a logical fashion, and it keeps the exercise tempo going, in fact, building up. And this helps everybody in the network begin to put pieces together with the information that they inject over the 3 days. So you can take information that you got before the grid went down, in this case, the WIWT news deck, and new information that's coming in only over radio. And this helps you formulate a larger picture as far as what we're up against. So in this case, for example, our Tennessee station put out a situation report, and it read, and this came out on Friday, we are receiving reports over the local UHF linked system and state HF nets that there has been an attack at Fort Campbell, that's in Kentucky, and Tennessee. It's right on the border. Reports indicate a possible drone swarm attack. One operator has photographic evidence from a downed drone. I'm hoping to get photos at a later time. Cell outages are delaying communications. Now, this was a kind of a cool surprise for some people. They didn't know you can send images over ham radio. Well, there's multiple ways that this can happen, but we use it in something that's very similar to how weather faxes are sent, but you can indeed send images. You don't have to do anything to receive these. They just pop up on your laptop screen. And it's very simple for people that are sending it to go to the correct mode. But in the case of the Tennessee situation report, this is a downed drone that's a weaponized drone with explosives tied to it. Now, this is from a real conflict. And so for realism, you can see the GPS receiver up here, right there. This is a GPS receiver, and I know I have my mouse cursor pointer small, but you have an explosive package down below, rather large drone. This is, I believe, from Russia-Ukraine conflict. But we incorporated this into our scenario because if this event were real, you could expect to see that kind of stuff here in our own country. Now, sending that over the radio, you can see the original photo that was issued to the sending station in Tennessee, who injected the sit rep, and then hours later, he injected another sit rep accompanied with this photo. Now, depending on band conditions and your distance, your location from the sending station, it can vary in quality. So you can see on the right. Now, to the untrained eye, this might look like a low quality image and utterly useless. The one in the center looks like a wrecked motorcycle, right? But a trained intelligence analyst, somebody that specializes in IMINT, imagery intelligence, can make a lot of use from this. In fact, you don't have to be an intelligence professional. If you have certain backgrounds, you can make use of these pictures. They can be very useful. That could be used for information, for augmenting, supplementing situation reports across the net when we have subject matter experts in the network that can chime in and say, yes, this is, this or that type of piece of equipment. This is who uses it. This is how it's operated and controlled. The frequencies that are typically used to control this type of a drone, that could be very valuable to everybody in the network. just from a grainy picture. So for training purposes, we decided to include some of these. You can see on the one on the far left, it's extremely degraded, probably not useful at all. But these other two pictures that were sent in by T-Rex participants after the exercise, they sent in the pictures that they received, and you can definitely find a lot of intelligence value in these pictures, even if they're slightly degraded. Here's another one. This is in this case, this was simulating a babushka drone that was shot down. I think this one was outside of Washington, D.C., because we had other sit reps that were coming in that several targets in Washington, D.C. The president was simulated, evacuated from the White House. All of the drones were taken down that were targeting the White House. And this is a picture, this simulates a picture that someone took of a downed drone near the White House that landed in a street. And one of our radio operators got a hold of this picture and sent it out. So the two lower pictures are photos that were sent in by T-Rex participants showing how it looked to them when they received it. And finally, we have another one. This was airborne. You can see the original photo that was sent to the initiating station that was assigned to him to inject. And he took the initiative, cropped the picture to make it smaller so it would transmit easier and quicker, and focused in on the part of the drone so you could get more detail. He also added in the pre-assigned control number for that situation report, which was T114. That was for administrative purposes, so we can track the inject traffic, the preloaded traffic, so we can help determine how effective, and how far reaching our traffic was, and to confirm that it had gotten injected into the scenario, hopefully on time. And in this case, it was. Station number 30, or station 30, was assigned this sit rep T114, which included a photo. And he also correctly added exercise to the subtitle on that picture, so anybody intercepting it can intercepting the photo would know that this is part of an exercise. And here are a couple of pictures that were sent in by other station operators who intercepted the image that was being sent out by Station 30. We had a couple others too. This is a Starlink trailer that ended up being simulated, stolen. One of the things we wanted to highlight was how vulnerable Starlink can be. And this is an actual Starlink ground station site in a rural area in the middle of nowhere. And it is literally being operated off of the flatbed of an 18-wheeler, tractor trailer. There's nothing preventing somebody from, with a little bit of work and ingenuity, hooking up and driving off with one of these. And some of them are, behind a chain link fence mounted to the ground, but a stolen dump truck plowing over the top of these, there's nothing to stop them. There's cameras at these locations, but so what? A determined salami or Maoistani saboteur is not going to care about cameras, and they're going to do what they want anyway. So the Starlink systems depend on these ground stations. That's their lifeline to the rest of the internet, to the rest of the world. So besides anti-satellite weaponry that's being developed by Russia and China right now, and that was incorporated into our scenario where they had feigned testing anti-satellite missiles with the Babushka and Maoistan test missiles, each firing one each, and suddenly they fire hundreds. And that's when the scenario began, because they were really targeting satellite constellations. And Starlink has a strategic value, and our enemies have it on their list as far as what they perceive as a legitimate military target. So we need to practice not having Starlink in that type of a scenario, a civil defense scenario. In this case, this trailer was stolen, and a state Aries put out a word, hey, the Starlink trailer was stolen. It is critical communications equipment. If anybody sees this trailer, it has a placard 483350. Anybody sees this around, please report it and help us identify the location of this missing trailer. Well, another station was assigned a piece of traffic with this picture saying, hey, I'm a farmer. I showed up, went out to my field to inspect my tractors and equipment, and this trailer is sitting here. Can anybody explain what this thing is? And he takes a picture of it and sends it out. So, there's throughout the scenario, we try to connect otherwise seemingly unrelated traffic, where the station that is relaying an Aries request for, please help us find this trailer with placard number 483350 if anybody's seen it. And this other guy posts a picture matching the description. Of course, he's unaware that they've put out this call for this missing trailer. So he just blindly, unknowingly sends out this picture saying, can anybody tell me what this thing is? It just showed up in my field. And so that's what that was about. And so we try to make it fun and exciting and creative. A lot of traffic was passed. There were actually 15 preloaded injects, and then there was some welfare traffic that was passed as well. But we have drone attack reports in DC, MacDill Air Force Base, targeting refuelers, Maoistani illegals arrested after having cut some fiber optic internet cables with maps and other intel on them with other targets that they had when they were arrested. And so missing Starlink trailer, Fort Campbell, targeting the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, or SOAR. Several with different drone and sabotage type of attacks. Naval Air Station Norfolk, Whiteman Air Force Base, which is where our B-1 bombers are located. If you guys remember, several months back, the Ukrainians used drone swarms that were smuggled in the back of modified Sealand containers to launch an attack on Russia's strategic bombers, successfully destroying numerous bombers at numerous sites. So don't think that that was a one-shot deal and they haven't thought, well, this could work other places too, like in America. So we want to highlight that because it is a realistic threat and it is something that could affect us. It's a national security threat. We want to kind of keep that on the front of people's minds as things get increasingly unstable here in the world. Now, when we first took to the air, we were putting together these initial event summaries to share what we knew. Meanwhile, these situation reports began trickling in, but they were just hitting the airwaves. What really helped paint a picture was Comstat and JS8 call, where people immediately began sending out status reports, which is a pulse check. This is a quick, down and dirty, very quick and easy, efficient way of saying my power's out, my phone's out, my roads are impassable or water's contaminated, whatever it is, whether it's red, yellow, green category, and fire that off with just a brief little narrative at the beginning, just to, further explanation if needed. So you began seeing red and yellow dots appear on the map. And you'll notice, though, there's a big gaping hole there where no reports were received. Well, that's because somebody in another part of the country, they were receiving reports as well, and that's what it looked like to them. So look at the difference. You have somebody in the Pacific Northwest, and then you have somebody in the Midwest picking all those up. So we can share these reports. So if one of these stations compiled which is a feature that's built into Comstat we'll be getting to, you can export a CSV file and send it to this station here in the upper left-hand corner, and he can share his file with the other and import that, and it would fill in the blanks. So then you have a more full picture of what you're looking at. Then you can send those CSV files to the SIGSENDs, where they have a more complete picture of where the hotspots are in the country, where power is out, where phones are out. And of course, in this case, we're simulating a nationwide grid down situation, except for looks like Utah. I think everybody was trying to head to Utah because they were grid up there, no problems, no outages. All right, as I said, I had been going through, kind of analyzing and then compiling these surveys as they were coming in throughout the week. And I still have about, I think, 20 more to add to these. This is going to be posted at AmRRON.com Monday morning for others to read. And this will be on that survey site where this will be posted in a PDF form that you can take a look at. But I do need to add some of the other the numbers here, like, what days you participated, has pretty much stayed the same, where you've got about 73% were able to participate Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Those percentages stayed the same, but I will bring in the comments, what worked well, what didn't, so that those will be in there for you to read as well. But let's get to this. This was a 3-day exercise, or really 50 hours, about roughly 50 hours, starting on Friday, July 25th. It ended on Sunday, and 47 of the respondents that I have included here anyway, so 73% were able to participate all 3 days. So that was really good. Some folks were only able to participate Friday and Saturday, and just a little bit of a mix there with other participating days. Folks were able to jump in there. As far as HF regional national only, that was over 2/3 of our participants. 67% were HF regional and national only. We had a couple that were VHF, UHF, local nets only, and then 17 participated in both local VHF, UHF, and HF. We had a couple folks say that they also had GMRS monitoring. We have some large GMRS nets across the country, and we're going to be folding those in for the next T-Rex. What modes did you use? Well, 56 and 48 used FLDigi Suite, which included FL Message and FLAMP. 48 of them used JS8 Call. Most of them used JS8 Call and Comstat. There were about 5 or 6 folks that just used JS8 Call, but they did state that they could see the Comstat stat reps come across in JS8 Call, which still gave them some information. It just wasn't formatted in a dashboard or a map type setting. I'll let you read this when you get the PDF from that I'm going to post on the website. How many Comstat stat reps did you copy? Well, 41 stations, and it was kind of strange. Some stations don't respond to every question, but of the 41 who did respond to this question, 1,739 all total. That's 41 stations, which brings us to an average of about 42 stat reps received per station. So that's pretty good. That's a good picture, because without JS8 Call and stat rep, you're essentially blind. Before that came along, you have FL Digi and you're saying, hey, is anybody there? Hello. And either they're not at their station or maybe they're running QRP, low power, 5 watts. They can hear you, but you can't hear them say, yeah, I can hear you. And you don't have a complete accurate picture of really who's out there and who's on the air and what quality of path you have. JS8 call gives us that capability because it can reply and acknowledge your request. Hey, is anybody out there? Even while you're unattended, you could be out splitting firewood and your station detects this call. Hello, is anybody out there? And they put out a beacon. Your station will automatically reply to them, acknowledging them and letting them know that you're there. So that's how you get these high numbers. You would never see 42 contacts per station on average before JS8 call came along and Comstat. And as far as the messages received, as I mentioned, we had 15 pre-assigned Inject pieces of traffic. Man, the rock stars there were message 101 and 105. 29 folks each received those over the weekend. Tango 104, 28 folks. Basically, these are the top 3. The most folks reported receiving these. Now, what's interesting is that these are also, and this could be part of the explanation for that. See how the numbers go down over time? These were injected early on Friday, and then Saturday, these were injected. So these have more time to cycle through the network. You have an extra day or two for somebody to relay this, and then somebody else intercepts it, and then you just get more people receiving a piece of traffic the more it's being relayed out there. So that extra day makes a big difference. And there was one piece of traffic that did not get injected. We've not heard from the operator. Hopefully they're okay. But yeah, there were 2 other pieces of traffic that were almost identical in another state. And they injected it into their local VHF BBS. So everybody in a local area saw it, but the rest of the AmRRON network didn't get to see that. So that's being addressed, and we're learning all the time. Folks are learning and improving every year. And so I think this was their first time injecting traffic this year. And so now everybody understands, what's expected, and we'll make sure that that's more clear next year as well. As far as the images go, we had 14 people receive that Drone 3 crash. That's the first one that I showed you, actually, that was targeting Fort Campbell. A lot of folks received that image over the air, which really surprised a lot of people that didn't know you could send images, and they sat down to their computer and they see this image of a downed drone on their computer screen, and they were quite surprised by it and pleasantly surprised by it. The Starlink trailer, stolen trailer, only 2 folks reported having received that one. And we had an Amtrak derailment that never got reported by anybody. So let's see. Then, how did you power your off-grid station? Oh, we had 58%, or the overwhelming majority there in red, reported that they used solar battery backup. Now, that was my battery backup was solar. And this weekend I had one battery go completely out on me, and that needs to be replaced. The other one is weak. So I have 2 batteries to replace. Misery loves company, and I've discovered that the other stations experience the very same thing. Yep, time to replace the batteries on my solar, my deep cycle batteries, because they reached their end of life this weekend at T-Rex. And but that's what T-Rex is for, is to reveal these things to you so you can fix them, because a real world event is coming. And we don't get to plan and schedule that one. So be prepared for it. as soon as possible, start making these repairs you identified over T-Rex, these shortcomings. The next largest group was, you see there in yellow, 12 operators reported using grid power, simulating grid down. Now, after my solar backup, my batteries dumped on me, I did go to grid power myself, even though I do have generators and they're tested and working. But because I'm also running the exercise and doing a lot of administrative stuff, I didn't mess with the generator. I just shut down the solar. I plugged into grid power so that I could continue training and, handling, making the exercise go and handling all of that. But I do have a larger generator and a small generator. Both functions check well. They're good to go that I could switch to. So if you don't have that, man, fix everything. Identify your shortcomings and fix them right away. And these next categories from the survey, 8, 9, and 10, I am going to break some of these down and cover in upcoming videos. There's some really good observations here. Some good things, some things that didn't work well for them, recommendations, observations, questions, points of clarification that they're asking for. So I am going to come back to that this coming week as I continue to break down this after action report. So thank you, everybody who participated, took the time, and especially those of you who really took it seriously, got your head in the game, in the scenario, treated it like it was real, took the time off of work, set the time aside to do this. And we hear every year, people say, yeah, if this was real, I wouldn't be tied to the radio the whole time. I have other obligations. That's absolutely true. We don't disagree with that. On T-Rex, you have one obligation: focus on comms, because this is your opportunity to push everything to the limit, to find out where left and right guardrails are, to find out how far you can push your off-grid power, to make sure everything is functional, to participate and join in with others that are really focusing on comms. This is an exercise to practice working on and developing and honing your communication skills. We don't need to plan an exercise so you can simulate being away from your radio, and you end up using T-Rex as an opportunity to practice not communicating. Makes no sense. So, all right, guys, you be safe, be vigilant, and make sure you like, subscribe, share, comment, and we'll see you in the next one. Get your comms up. This is John Jacob Schmidt, out.